Hey there. In this video, I want to show you how easy it is to summarize audio files using Parseprompt.ai. In short, Parseprompt allows you to provide a series of different media inputs, whether it's a YouTube video, an audio file, a PDF, a piece of text, a web page. And then what you could do is you could feed that in as content. You can run an AI prompt against that content, and you can generate a new piece of content from that existing piece of content. I know it sounds confusing, so let me just show you how this works. In the rest of this video, I am going to take an audio clip from a podcast. I'm going to summarize it in a particular way using AI, and then I'm going to generate an output and show you how you could use this to automatically create like a WordPress post, for example, using Zapier and its integration. So in parse prompt, after I provide um, API keys, specifically for OpenAI, Anthropic, we also use AssemblyAI to turn audio files or YouTube files into a transcript. Basically, you need to provide some API keys to third-party services, and we will then leverage those services to do the summarization, to use the AI models to get the output that you want. So what I've done is I've created a prompt template. Prompt template is simply a prompt that you want to use over and over and over again. You can see what it looks like here. You can see here I have the name podcast summarization. The input source is an audio URL, but you can see there's a few other formats available as well. We also set the output to be Markdown, and this is particularly useful if you want to use something like WordPress to generate a blog post. Additionally, we use the GPT-4 1106 preview model because it handles larger context windows. And so, what I would recommend is if the audio podcast is long, imagine 30 minutes or more, I would strongly recommend that you use Anthropic's Claude 100K model instead, because otherwise you're going to run into limitations where it is unable to process all of the transcript text that you're providing it. So for most jobs, I find OpenAI works really reasonably well, but for long uh, audio clips and YouTube clips in particular, you definitely want to use Anthropic instead. Then you can specify the max tokens. This is technical speak for how long do you want the output to be, and I'll show you what the output looks like. And then you also have a temperature scale. The lower the temperature, the more kind of predictable and in some ways robotic it sounds. The higher the temperature, the more creative it's going to sound. So let's dial it down to 0.5. You can see I also have instructions. Write a summary of this podcast episode. The summary should be in the following format: introduction, summary of key points, um, takeaways, and tags for the podcast. So let's click update. I actually already processed an example. And so I went into this podcast that I listened to called The Breakdown. Great podcast if you're into crypto. But you can see here there is an MP3 file. And so I just, for the sake of an example, grabbed the most recent MP3 file and I ran it, and you can see what this looks like. So you can see we now have an output that is generated in Markdown that looks like the following. You can see here the introduction, summary of key points. I realize that there's a summary of key points and key points, but you can see how it has takeaways as well, and then tags for the podcast. You can see those here. Additionally, below, you can see the raw text that is provided, that is sent into OpenAI in this instance. So this is what it's looking at to generate this content. And so this is how you could summarize a podcast episode using AI. But if you wanted to take it a step further, you could set up our Zapier integration, and you could set it up so every time a new podcast item is added to a feed, you can send that data in for processing in Parseprompt, and then you could save it as a blog post to Google Drive. You could send a text message to yourself using Zapier when there's new content added. There's a whole host of things that you can do. But you can see here, I actually set it up so that this could create a brand new post in WordPress based on this content here. So in a nutshell, you could basically create an automated blog post generating machine that uses AI to write a summary of the podcast episode. And you could do this in bulk too. So the last thing I'll show you is that if you wanted to process a lot of data at once, you simply download the CSV sample file and you could input, 100 MP3 files, and it would process all of them at once. And so this could be particularly useful for large scale jobs or where you have a lot of audio files that you need to process. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is how Parse Prompt works. We make it really easy to bulk run and generate AI outputs for audio files, YouTube, images, and other media formats that may seem difficult to parse. Um, yeah, give it a try. We have free accounts available. 7-day free trial. Pricing starts at $25 a month. And my hope is that this really unlocks AI generated content for you from other media formats. So, with that being said, that's all for now, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.